Life tosses many challenges, right? And sometimes when you're at your deepest, darkest moment, you think, why the hell did I make that decision? Why did I go down this path? And I think the thing that I've learned from that is that when you emerge from that deep, dark moment, that something new and bright opens up before you, and you have a new perspective on life. And so never to be afraid of those dark moments. Don't run from them. Understand them. Cry through it, it's okay. And then move on. Life is always going to toss challenges at you. That's normal. The issue is how you're going to deal with it and how you're going to hold your head up high and walk away from it. Thank you.
So you touched on this a little bit, but so I'm working in an LGBT resource center right now, and one of the things we're talking about is intersectionality. So we have so many identities as a whole person. So I guess, how have your intersecting identities affected you at work? And do you have any stories like that?
And do I have any what?
Stories.
Well, my partner, her famous line is that she never apologizes for being a woman. She never apologizes for being Latino. She's not going to apologize for being gay. One time I had this job where, since we're talking about the workplace, I had this job where, in the 80s, 90s, I was a little concerned about being out gay as I was being in the professional world. And I had this job, and on the first day of the job, I get in the staff is going to take me out, the owner of the company's a big deal, we're on this big car, and they started joking. And they said, what'd you do on the weekend? I shot cans. What kind of cans? Black cans, Mexicans, Puerto Ricans. Obviously, I wasn't out as Latino. They were talking about me, and they didn't know that. And so I had just quit my job. My daughter was in the first year of college. I could not lose this job. I had to pay for it, And so, you just power through it and ignore it. Of course, then I started getting stomach aches. Michael Jordan was really big then. I won this. I had the Bulls account, and so in the print industry, there's a lot of imaging. So you take the peeps on around the print shops, and the racist things that people would say were astounding in the workplace. And so finally, I had to quit. I had to quit that job, and it had nothing to do with me being gay. It had nothing to do with me, It was the intersection of who I was, and I could not walk away from it. And so that's how I dealt with it. I quit my job. And actually what I did is I told the owner why I was quitting my job. Because he was like, oh my God, why are you leaving? You had so much promise, you're great, blah, 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 blah. And I had to say, I'm so disappointed. I'm so disappointed working here. It's not what I thought it would be. And I told him about, the things I had heard and the things that people said on the floor. And told them how it made me feel. And I was fortunate. I really had a dialogue. It's like one of those learning teachable moments, I guess, that I didn't expect to have. But he really wanted to know what was wrong, so I told him. And they did make changes in the workplace after I left. And they wanted me to come back. But I was like, I don't think so. So, you got to do what makes you happy.
So what my question is you were talking about having to de-gay your resume at one point, and then all of a sudden turn around and re-gay it up in a professional way. Which was more difficult, and what kind of difficulties did you face trying to make your gay experience more professional and trying to de-gay the experience before that? Like,
well, you know, actually, when I first came out into the workplace, I was not. It was not in a gay context. All the gay activism occurred. I mean, when you say you're an activist and you're working a 9-to-5 job and you're raising kids, and then you're participating in the community, you know, you're working your butt off. So the work that I did was not gay, but I had numerous activities. You know, we were doing numerous activities after work that was for the community. So none of that was ever on my resume. So I had a complete resume, absent all my gay stuff. But let me say, by volunteering and being active in the community, I began to understand that one, I could sell, that I could bridge between difference, that when I was selling for the paper, I could do, you know, gay 101. You know, when we were selling, when, you know, Tracy first started the paper, there was not corporate sponsorship the way there is now. You had to go into those offices and sell people on why there was such a thing called the gay market. You had to talk about first that you weren't a pedophile. I mean, really, it was basic 101. And so outside, so I didn't have a gay resume initially. I had a lot of extracurricular activities that I actually did a lot of professional growth and learned a lot more about myself outside, because that's where my passion was. And so in following my passion, I really did develop a resume that once I had to churn all that around into an official resume, it was actually pretty complete. And then from there, and now it's like my resume is what it is. It's gay is not really a big part of it. You know, I mean, no, let me take it back. It is a big part of it, but it's not a deterrent, nor is it a, you know, it is what it is.
thank you.
Hi, my name is Sunshine. I'm from the University of New Orleans, and I was wanting to know, did you ever have to, were you ever faced with the decision of having to go and be all-out activist, like all the time, versus having to only like work to get money to pay for your family? Or were you ever faced with that kind of decision?
I have always worked because I had 2 small children, and I always was an activist. I was never not an activist. From the moment I came out, and I realized that with my peers, women who were mothers, I had to find them first. I had to find them, and so I don't feel like actually, it's just the opposite. I don't think I had a choice. I had to create a world that was safe for me and my kids. There was, when we came out, my kids would tell me, Mom, I think so-and-so's parent, Mom, is gay. And I'd be like, wow, this is not my second partner. But the kids don't know she's gay. And they're really fighting because they're not talking to each other. And so I never felt, I mean, my kids recognize that, but I never felt that I could step back from being gay. I never felt that yeah, the gay world did not initially pay me any money. It was all volunteer. You did it because you did it. You did it because it was right. You did it because you needed to. You did it because you needed to create that world for you and your kids. So the choice was never either or. The choice was, how could I not?
First of all, I just want to really thank you for hearing your story. It was so inspirational, and I'm really inspired by it. I was just wondering how you and your partner met. Like, what were you guys out?
We all want to know that.
Well, actually, we met through organizing. And so we met through organizing, and let's see, I don't know, we met through organizing, she was trying to organize, she was coming out, she was trying to figure out where the Latinas lesbians were. And I had actually been part of a group a few years early, and then so when I opened the office for Lambda, I was like, I didn't have any brain space for any other community activity. When we opened the office, that was a 24/7 hour job. I didn't have space for anything else. And here she was, she wanted to organize fine world things in Chicago. And so that's actually how we met. So it was her pursuit of trying to organize in the community. And she thought that I had some keys. And at some point I let her unlock some of those keys. When I was working the first time around in legal during the AIDS crisis, and part of my job was to organize in the Midwest. And so, as a station in Chicago, I had a lot of that organizing was on the telephone. And so every year I would call these organizations. I was trying to get my boss, who was the attorney, out on the road to go to all the surrounding states to make sure that people were aware of what our rights were and how to advocate for them. And every year, I would call back to the surrounding states, and the AIDS organizations would have been gone, no longer existed, and you had to start all over again. And in Chicago, we had a couple of AIDS organizations. We had a couple of organizations that are begun by passion, fueled by passion. That's a good thing. But without skill and without fiduciary, basic management principles, they're going to fail. And so I was actually disheartened by how many nonprofits in Chicago and in the Midwest were failing. And all the chaos and the heart of people being mad at each other. I didn't think it had to be that way. So I thought, well, I'm going to go get an MBA because I felt that at Lambda we had done it successfully. People weren't mad at us. We had good financial measures in place. We had personnel policies. I thought we did it right from the very beginning so that we never had to go back and fix things, right? And once as an organization gets off on the wrong foot and they have to go back and fix things, it's like downhill. You lose people all the time. So I really wanted to have like the theory of how do you make organizations successful? What makes them work? So and you know what? I really loved it. Initially, I wasn't quite sure, but I thought it was really, really helpful in terms of being able to separate sometimes for nonprofits the idea of how to separate programming from fundraising. In the gay world, sometimes people just kind of mix that all up. Let's toss a dance, and it's but then it's an argument about ticket price, and you forget that sometimes who can give the money to fund the programs, that those are different audiences. And so the one thing about the MBA really gave me a clear idea of how to distinguish between the different audiences, how to market, how to do strategic planning, how to think about those things, how to grow an idea. And I loved it. I really did. I enjoyed getting that MBA. I don't think I would have gotten the Midwest Regional Director job if I didn't have that MBA.
Last question.
Hi, I'm Leah, and I'm a student at UIC. I was wondering, because you mentioned how out you are at your current job, I was wondering if that was an active decision, and why do you think it's important to be so open and visible?
I don't think it was a decision, actually. I'm going to tell you, sometimes if I'm in the court building, people who are not out, they'll run from me. It used to be that people, if you're an out person, that other people who are not out, they don't want to be with you. You make them uncomfortable with your friends. So I don't know that it was a decision for me to be out of work. I don't really think so. It's just that now my resume was Lambda Legal twice, the gay paper twice, gay games. It it wasn't a choice, it was that's who I am. That's who I am. And now I feel that in the position that I currently have, queer rights are really on the forefront of civil rights. That doesn't mean to say that we have addressed racial issues. That remains a priority. But queer issues are on the forefront of civil rights. And so there's something I can do about my resume, right? It is who I am. I'm proud of it. I love it. It's helped me develop to who I am now. So it's not like I made a decision to be out or not out. I just am. You know, people recognize it, you know, that I am. And I tell you, if Yvette and I walk into a room, it could be a room like this. It's a big fundraiser. I wear a nice silky dress. She wears a nice dashing suit. You know that we're out.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.